Hello, Shannon. Sorry, we're scrambling. People were having way too much fun with the lab.
Yeah, like the Subway chicken, like probably 30% pork. And maybe 69 pork.
Okay.
Good joke,
Let me
Jack.
start.
Barbecue sauce and then 0.1% love. That's how you make the best pulled pork.
What?
What?
I'm talking about pulled pork. And
What?
I'm very hungry. I have not had Subway today.
I've heard.
I know, I left my son in the Subway chair. I know, I couldn't sit in it. I lost my right to the Subway chair since I don't have Subway.
That is a sin.
I don't think it is.
I really think it is.
It's not.
Should be one of this.
Just asking us to explain
I
it.
just think there, it was supposed to draw some, like our chromatograph. Our
Chromatograph. Oh, no.
What the paper, have a diamond of the paper. One that should have a green line and some green up, one that should have red line. Red up. But, chlorophyll. That's the only thing we could really identify.
Piper, if I died, nothing.
You know the weird thing is though,
Or if
that
I
like
just straight
the
up
vegetarian
explode.
burgers aren't very good. But
How
like,
would I make you explode?
What is very, very good? The last thing?
okay, so the burgers aren't very
Angry
good. So like
looking.
Impossible burgers aren't very good. But
Uh-huh.
chicken fillets, like these,
Yeah.
they're called Garden Ultimate Base Chicken Fillets.
You like that
They're
one?
very, very, very good.
I admit that I like those, the Morning Star sausage, the veggie sausage. Those are good. But I'm not a fan of the turkey. I'd rather do that than turkey bacon. Although I do like turkey bacon in a quiche.
Hey Dylan,
It's less greasy.
have you tried the Burger King Impossible one I had?
We make them at home.
No, it's.
Awesome. All right, well, we have Shannon online today. Hello, Shannon.
She owes me money.
Oh my gosh, you guys. She owes me money. Okay. Drew, take all your stuff out of here, please. Can you do that? It doesn't need to be.
Yes.
Thank you. All right.
Stand up saying below, you say she owes.
She owes me money.
Hi, everyone. Shannon's here. She owes me money. Okay.
She reminded me.
We love each other in this class. Did any of you even notice I was wearing a cell today? Wearing a cell. It's cute. It's a cute cell. All right, so photosynthesis. Now that we've done our little chromatogram over there, that was entertaining, I hope, sort of. Hey, Drew, can you turn that oven off for me? I forgot. It's still on warm. Thank you. Oh, thanks, Cole. Somebody turned it off. Photosynthesis. Okay, so my screen will go. So you had homework and we went over it last week in class, but anyway, again, you have atoms. Then you have atoms that make up molecules and compounds, and those go together to make up cells. Cells make what? Cells together make tissue, like cells make tissues, right? Tissues combine to form organs, and organs combine to form organ systems, and then organ systems make an individual or an organism. Very good. And last week we had the man with the little fig leaf. Well, he was our organism. Oh, fig leaf man. He's funny. I like him. All right, so what do we remember from last week? So we have two kinds of cells here. One's a plant cell, one's an animal cell. Which is which?
One on the left is animal.
This one?
Yeah.
Okay, and this one's a Oswald. Oswald. You're not gonna stare at Michael's salami. Come here. That sounded bad. Come here. I'm not taking that back. Michael's lunch meat. Okay, and just sit right here. Quit doing that. That's rude. I know he's on your bed, but you don't use it anyway. I know.
I've never seen him in this bed.
Yeah, plant cells and animal cells. You know who uses Otto will use it. He'll come up and he'll lay in it, like out of spite because nobody's sitting down to hold him or whatever, because he's a brat. All right, so the first thing on our diagram here is this guy right here, which appears to only exist in the plant cell. So what do we think it is?
And which ones are we looking at?
This thing right here.
Is it photosynthesis? Is it
Chloroplast?
It's
Hey, it's a chloroplast. That's right. So all these little round things would be like the thylakoids, right? Remember they look like little checkers or something stacked inside the little chloroplast. And then this next deal would be our cell wall. That's this big chunk. It's obviously only over here. So this next thing here is going to be in both. So now we've knocked out the two things that are only plant cell. So what
Cell
is
membrane.
this? There you go, cell membrane. All right, now who can tell me what this next one is? It's pointing to the itty bitty little dots. Anybody know?
Nutrient
Take a
dots?
guess. These little dots right here,
Oh,
right here, not nutrients. So these are made on the rough endoplasmic reticulum, but they free themselves and start floating around.
Proteins?
They're where proteins are made.
Oh, DNA.
They work with the DNA.
Yeah.
These are ribosomes. Okay.
Right.
Do you want a chair, James? You can sit by, okay, I was gonna say you can sit by, oh, my hummingbird is in the wrong feeder. Honey, it's that one. Okay, yep. You can sit on the couch by Pepper, or you can steal one of those chairs from where the girls are, or sit over there. If you want to be more comfy. All right, so yes, these are our ribosomes. So what are these right here? There's one in each of these plant and animal cells. No, I'm not putting you down. People are eating lunch, door. What do we think? Anybody know? So that would be this guy, right? Where'd he go? Right here. These are your mitochondrion or mitochondria, if we're talking about more than one. And what's the stack of pancakes? It's the mailroom. It's the sorting center.
yeah.
It's the funny word. It's the
Yeah.
Golgi apparatus.
Ah.
That's what this is. Yep. And then what is this stuff stuck to the outside of this guy? And it has little bumpies all over it.
Without the rough end of
That's the rough ER, right? So if that's the rough ER, then what's this stuff?
smooth.
That's the smooth ER. Good job. And then what's this arrow here pointing to? Here and here.
That's supposed to be nucleus or.
It's pointing right to the outside of it. So what's around the outside of it? Yeah, it's the nuclear membrane or nuclear envelope, if you want to call it that. That's exactly what that is. So then, Alex, what's the next one?
Nucleus.
Those are nucleus, right? Or nuclei if it's pointing to two. And then what's the little deal in the very, very center, your bullseye? Nucleolus, that's the fun word. And then lastly, here or here, what is that? Yeah, vacuoles, James has got it. Do you remember what I said about plant vacuoles last week and why it's important to remember what they are and what they do and what I say?
Because
They can help move. Yeah, they can help the plant move because plant doesn't have skeleton or muscles or whatever. So thank you. So if it needs to move towards the light, it's going to put more turgor pressure on one side or the other of a stem by taking water in or out. I know Daddy's in the kitchen. You might drop something of its vacuoles. Oh, Dylan socks. Points for those. Those are cool. He's got Einstein socks. That's pretty awesome. My doctor's name is Einstein. That's his actual name. And he's got a whole wallpaper now that has all of like Einstein's equations and stuff all over the wallpaper. It's really cool. It's just on one wall, thank God, or it would be overwhelming, but it's really neat. I like it. All right, so energy in life. Now we're talking this week about photosynthesis, energy production, all this good stuff. We have all these nice lush green pictures. Last week we had fall, like, yeah, now this looks almost like spring. So our chemical energy, what do we use for chemical energy? What's that molecule?
ATP.
ATP, adenosine triphosphate. Okay, this is the source of energy in all living things. So it is microorganisms that capture and store metabolized food from light sources form ATP, right? And then ATP is the end product of processes of phosphorylation. That's a fun one, which is adding a phosphate group to adenosine diphosphate. So it becomes adenosine triphosphate. And cellular respiration and fermentation also are producing ATP. So cells release energy by removing a phosphate group from ATP to ADP. So they store it by taking one out and release it by putting one in. Yeah. What'd you find? Or the other way around. I just spoke backwards.
Cells regenerate ATP from ADP and only contain a small amount 2 ATP.
Where are you reading?
That very bottom paragraph
So you read ahead, man.
only contains.
Over here?
No,
Over here.
All I can
Oh,
do-
yes, should be an of. Very good. You found one. Always finding one. Yes, okay. He finds all the mistakes. So all living things use ATP. In addition to being used as an energy source, it's also a signal transduction pathway for cell communication and is incorporated into, what's this word?
Deoxyribonucleic acid.
There you go. So cells regenerate ATP from ADP and contain only a small amount of ATP at a given time. So this is a process that's going on rapid fire constantly. And your amount of ATP it's not something that hangs out in your cells. It's like it's produced, it's used, it's produced, it's used. It doesn't get stored a whole lot. So the only a small amount at a given time. So other molecules that are related to ATP have similar names. You got ADP, which we just talked about, and there's also AMP, which would be adenosine monophosphate. So we have adenosine monophosphate, adenosine diphosphate, adenosine triphosphate. So this is, when we did naming in chemistry, we didn't quite get this in depth because this is when you're getting into like the organic chemistry naming stuff, which gets super, super involved. So keeping ATP in mind, let's look at heterotrophs and autotrophs. So what's an autotroph versus a heterotroph?
Autotroph makes its own food.
Good. What's a heterotroph, Michael? Oh, no,
Takes in
eating.
motherfucker.
Yeah, I was just like a waitress, wasn't I? I waited till you took a bite and asked your question. Ozzy, come here. Michael is not feeding you. Come here. No, sir. Yes, exactly. He might accidentally on purpose drop something. So give me an example of an autotroph. Autotroph.
Aren't there like worms down at the on the fence on the sea?
You're doing like chemo autotrophs and things like that. Yep. What's the algae? Yeah, I was gonna say what's responsible for most of our oxygen and most of our production here is going to be algae. And then of course, pretty much anything you can see out there that looks green, right? And as you learned today, even those leaves that aren't green still have chlorophyll in them, right? So even those loropetalum, if you look behind, kind of behind Bailey, it's hard to see. There's a whole wall of loropetalum along that brick wall. He has a bunch of them. They're the purplish looking ones. They're that color year round. And some of you all tested those leaves and found that, yep, guess what? Didn't matter. They still had chlorophyll in them, even if they were red. So what's an example of a heterotroph? Yeah, human's a good example. Very good.
Awesome.
Whoop. And then, whoop, why did I hit that button twice? And then photosynthesis, of course, you guys know, is the process of producing energy, using light to produce food or energy molecules. So we have an autotroph and a heterotroph in this picture, right? Who's the autotroph? Or what's the autotroph?
Plant.
The plant, and the heterotroph's the cool chameleon. Have you ever really looked at their eyes? Their eyes are freaking wild.
They are.
That's my favorite thing about them is their funky
Ever
eyes.
seen Rango?
Ever seen what?
Rango?
Mm-mm.
Oh, it's so good.
Is it a cartoon?
It's a cartoon.
I thought so, yeah.
but It's super realistic
Oh, that's cool.
looking, and it has the main characters that can
It's
do it.
super realistic.
Their little
Not
funky
super
eyes are
realistic.
just.
It's a weird art style. but
It
it's-
It's a really.
I love you go to PetSmart and you're looking at the chameleon and you're walking past and his eyes like this way. And their eyes are independent, right? One moves independent of the other.
They do that in the movies.
Mhm.
Johnny Depp.
And what can you tell by the
don't know.
position of his eyes? Where is he going to be on a food chain based on the position of his eyes?
Where he's looking.
Do his eyes look straight ahead or can, Alex, what can you tell about where this guy's going to fit in the food chain based on his eyes?
Somewhere in the middle.
Somewhere in the middle, maybe? Yeah.
Right.
He can do both. You're right. Yeah, but the fact that he can see around matters because that means he's hunted, right? But he can move both eyes forward because he will snatch that tongue out and grab things, right? Absolutely. So photosynthesis, here's an overview. You lose binocular vision, you lose depth perception. You're right. It's weird. You ever try and walk around like that for long? Oh man.
No.
Yeah, it really does actually. At first, your brain kind of knows where everything is and it adapts, but there's a weird period in the middle. So here's an example of our lovely photosynthetic algae, which we all need to survive. So here's our chloroplasts. All right, so when you have these chloroplasts inside the cell, you remember in the little diagram we just had, it was like a little jelly bean with a bunch of circles in it. And that's because they're modeling these thylakoids, okay? So the thylakoids are these little flattened sacs, and it's on the membrane of the thylakoid where your photosynthesis actually takes place. So let me ask you this. If chlorophyll is green, what's it absorbing? What wavelength of light is it absorbing?
All
green.
except for green.
Everything but green. Now, do you remember when we had the grow light over there? Do you remember what color it was when we turned it on?
Yellowish.
Yeah, it was kind of like an ultraviolet almost, right? It was really bright. Basically, it had LEDs for everything but green, because green's kind of a waste, right? They don't need it. So it had lots of like really intense light in the other bandwidth, other wavelength. Sorry, I said bandwidth because he said bandwidth to me earlier about you use so much bandwidth in class. Okay, so yes, your chlorophyll is a pigment that absorbs all wavelengths except green, which it reflects, which is why it's green. And then on your thylakoid, your photosynthesis takes place in these little stacks. So these stacks are called grana, if it's more than one, granum, if it's one, just like mitochondria, mitochondrion, all those plural and singular fun words. So this is a stack of granum, and all together you would have grana. And then on the membranes of the thylakoids is where you've actually got your photosynthesis taking place. And that's just a diagram here of like, if you were to take one of these thylakoids and slice it in half, and get an idea of where everything actually takes place. So hopefully this is going to work well. I hope it has sound. All right, this was a great graphic, so I'm really hoping it works correctly. Come on, play sound. Yes, good. Here, I'm afraid to touch. Somebody had fun making this because it's really cool. Awesome.
They all be joined together because they have.
They would be, but it's really hard to show. So I think I was about to say they're showing these plant cells a little more spread out than they would be and a little rounder than they would be. But I think it's just because graphically it's hard to represent. I love the weird sound effects. They're great. So that's modeling the actual molecular movement.
Is that all the grana?
That's on the membrane of a thylakoid, which is in a granum. Yep. You've got your thylakoid with your membrane. The stack of them is a grana. The grana there would be granum, multiple grana inside of the chloroplast. So I give props to whoever did that because that was cool. Sleepy music, but really kind of cool. So here's our process of photosynthesis if we're going to break it down. So you have two different types of reactions. Oop, that should have been a capital D. I caught it before you. All right, so you have your light dependent and your light independent. I love it. He just leans forward, starts looking for words the second we change a slide.
You really want brownies, don't you?
He really likes brownies. So we used to call these light independent reactions. We used to call them dark reactions. So if you're reading an older book or watching an older video or even talking to an older person like me, we might say dark reaction, light reaction, dark reaction, because that's what we used to call them. The dark reaction really isn't a great descriptor. Light independent makes a whole lot more sense. So in your light dependent reactions, you obviously need light at that moment. So photosystems are functional units for photosynthesis defined by a particular pigment, organization, and association of patterns whose work is the absorption and transfer of light energy, which implies transfer of electrons. Because if energy is being transferred, it's going to be electrons because it's coming in the form of light. Is light a wave or a particle or what? Both. It's the weird one it's a wave when you're not looking at it. It's a particle when you're looking at it, right?
Electrons also.
Same thing. Yeah, exactly. Electrons are also like, I have to send you, you would like the video. I have to send you the video. The weird video I saw where the guy did the whole Schrodinger's cat electron quantum physics thing. You need it up. So physically, photosystems are found on thylakoid membranes. So you have an electron transport chain. So it's exactly what it sounds like. You're taking one electron, one charge, and you're just scooching it down a series of steps. And this is where we get involved with these little dudes, these different molecules, NADH and FADH2. And I'll show you, there's some graphics here that kind of explain it. And since it's not chemistry or organic chemistry or high level biology, I want you to know the general concept, but we're not going to get too in the weeds with the reactions, okay? So your electron transport chain is a series of electron transporters embedded in the inner mitochondrial membrane that shuttles electrons from these two molecules, NADH and FADH2, to molecular oxygen. In the process, protons are pumped from the mitochondrial matrix to the inner membrane space, and oxygen is reduced to form water. So you're reducing the oxygen to form water, which means you're freeing one from the O2. Now you've got an O, it's got to go somewhere up. There's an H2, let's slap it together. Now you've got water. So that's part of that photosynthesis reaction when you look at the chemical reaction. And this is telling you like where the different parts of the chemical reaction are taking place. Is this, you know, super in the weed stuff because you're talking about itty bitty things inside of itty bitty things. So then you have ATP synthase. So this is a protein that catalyzes the formation of the energy storage molecule ATP. So what's a catalyst do?
Speeds up.
Yeah, lowers the activation energy, right? So it's basically, it speeds up the reaction. So it's another example. Remember we talked about how proteins in nature can be catalysts and we usually call them enzymes in that case. So protein synthase here is the catalyst that's going to make this whole thing possible. And let's see. So it catalyzes the formation of ATP from ADP. Yeah.
I'm not sure if this is referring to what you just one of the four main things, but with the light independent reaction, the bolded Calvin cycle, the cycle's capitalized. But if you look down at the end of that paragraph,
Yeah, it isn't. And it's odd because this is, I chose to capitalize it, but in a lot of places you're not going to see it. So where this,
So
I took this data from something.
yeah, I'm not.
And it
I'm
wasn't
negotiating
catalyzed in the
around
piece.
for it. No.
I wouldn't worry about that one too much. Like this one, but this one I'll
And then
fix.
it's capitalized again.
Yeah, I prefer it capitalized, but I've seen it both ways. They only capitalize Calvin's name, but I think the entire thing is important. So it's classified under ligases, which would be a particular type of enzyme, as it changes ADP by the formation of a phosphate oxygen bond, which is this phosphodiester bonds. So this is again where you get into like more organic chemistry. So basically, this is when you're having light energy involved in the process of synthesizing ATP from ADP. Your light independent reactions are what we call the Calvin cycle. Okay, this is the part that doesn't require light. So these call them dark reactions. So people would just be like, oh, this is what happens at night when the plants are asleep. No, but that's kind of what it implied when you said dark reaction. So light independent makes more sense. This is the other part. So you've got plants and algae that used to turn carbon dioxide from air into sugar, and the food that autotrophs, which is the food that autotrophs need to grow. So this is how you get this energy and everything else that's coming into the plant and actually making the sugar that stores it. Because remember, ATP, that energy is there, but it doesn't stay around, right? It's there, it's fast. It's just as quick as it's made, it goes away. So you got 4 main steps. You're going to fix carbon. You're going to have some reduction phase. You're going to form carbs. You're going to have a regeneration phase. We'll look at that again more. So here's a graphic. Okay, this is easier, I think, to understand. So it's a dark reaction. You'll hear that, right? Because it does not need sunlight, although it can happen during the day, which is why they stopped calling it a dark reaction. So it doesn't require energy from the sun to work. So basically, if you have your light going in and you have all this going on, this is your light reaction. So you've got your ATP, it's going into this Calvin cycle, but the Calvin cycle is going to take the ADP, and this is how you get your CO2 out and your CO2 in and your sugar out. So basically these two things work together to make it all function. So while you need sunlight, obviously, to produce energy, not every step of the process requires it. And that's the main big idea here. So this is another good one if it will do its thing. And this kind of gives you a better idea with some moving graphics.
Plants provide us with food to eat
Weird
and
voice.
oxygen
Oh, weird.
to breathe. They perform this amazing feat by the process of photosynthesis. Let's take a closer look. Photosynthesis requires carbon dioxide, which diffuses into the leaf through small pores and then enters the cells. Inside the cell, carbon dioxide diffuses into the chloroplasts, where photosynthesis takes place.
So real quick, why is it
Chloroplasts
diffusing?
light.
Why is it diffusing into the chloroplast?
Because that's how it gets in.
What's the purpose of, how's diffusion work? You did it with your cell membrane.
Because
Lower
It takes
concentration.
nutrients to the.
Somebody said the word concentration. Who
Lower
said it?
concentration in the.
Right,
chloroplast.
you're trying to get a balance on both sides. There's lower concentration on one side than the other. So it's going to diffuse right in, right? Okay, good.
To transform carbon dioxide and water into sugar and oxygen. Zooming into a chloroplast, we see these flattened membranous sacs called thylakoids. Here, light energy is converted to chemical energy in the first phase of photosynthesis, the light reactions. The 2 green structures you see here are photosystems, large complexes of proteins and chlorophyll that capture light energy. An electron transport chain connects the 2 photosystems. Notice the small mobile electron carriers that shuttle electrons from
It's a
one
little
large
pink
complex
guy, see
to
him?
another.
Knocking back and forth.
Now let's take a closer look at the steps of the light reactions. The photosystem on the left absorbs light energy, exciting electrons that enter the electron transport chain. Electrons are replaced with electrons stripped from water, creating oxygen as a byproduct. The energized electrons flow down the electron transport chain, releasing energy that is used to pump hydrogen ions, the blue balls, into the thylakoid. In the photosystem on the right, light energy excites electrons, and this time the electrons are captured by an electron carrier molecule, NADPH. The high concentration of hydrogen ions inside the thylakoid powers ATP synthase, producing ATPs. The light reactions in the thylakoid have produced 2 energy products, ATP and NADPH, that will now power the production of sugar in the Calvin cycle. The Calvin cycle takes place outside the thylakoids in the stroma, the thick fluid of the chloroplast. At the beginning of the cycle, carbon dioxide molecules combine with molecules called RUBP. The resulting molecules go through a series of reactions powered by ATP and NADPH from the light reactions. Sugar molecules known as G3Ps are produced. Most of the G3Ps are rearranged back into RUBPs that will begin the Calvin cycle again. But the important product of photosynthesis is the remaining G3P sugar. Some G3Ps are used to build glucose, which can combine into starch or cellulose. Still other G3Ps form sucrose. And some of the sugar is broken down by cellular respiration using oxygen in the plant's own mitochondria, generating ATPs that can power other work of the plant. Excess oxygen diffuses out of the leaf through the pores, while more carbon dioxide enters. With 3 simple ingredients, carbon dioxide, water, and light, plants produce sugar and oxygen by photosynthesis, powering plant metabolism and ultimately providing your fuel as well.
So super complex when you get down on that molecular level. But what you have going on is, nope, I didn't click you again. What you have going on there is some of that energy that's being produced is going to stay in that mitochondrion because you need energy to keep producing energy. And then some of the energy is going to leave and some of the sugars are going to leave. And some of those sugars are going to stay to make structures within the cells. Like they're going to form together to make starches. And remember how we talked about how cell membranes are made of microfibril cellulose, all that kind of stuff. Those are going to be needed for the cell. The ones that aren't needed for the cell are going to move out of the cell and be used elsewhere. So this shouldn't have typos in it, Alex, because it's straight from the teacher guide. But so if this is in your notes, so look over what you've got. But definition of a photosystem. Photosystem 2 absorbs light, increases the electron's energy level. Electrons are passed to the transport chain. Enzymes in the thylakoid break up water molecules into 2 electrons and 2 H+ ions and 1 oxygen atom. The 2 electrons replace the high energy electron that have been lost to the electron transport chain. Electron transport chain is the energy from the electrons is used by the proteins in the chain to pump hydrogen H+ ions from the stroma into the thylakoid space. And at the end of the electron transport chain, the electrons themselves pass to photosystem 1. So then you go back to photosystem 1. Electrons do not contain as much energy as they used to. Pigments use energy from light to re-energize the electrons. And at the end of the short second electron transport chain, NADPH molecules in the stroma pick up the high energy electrons along with H+ ions at the outer surface of the thylakoid membrane to become NADPH. And then lastly, hydrogen ion movement and ATP formation, hydrogen ions began to accumulate within the thylakoid space. The buildup of hydrogen ions makes the stroma negatively charged relative to the space within the thylakoid. This gradient, the difference in both charge and H+ ion concentration across the membrane provides the energy to make ATP. So again, this is like being back in chemistry again, all this business, but it always breaks down to that. And it always comes down, in the end, it always comes down to electrical charge. It always comes down to chemicals. And then beyond that, even further beyond that, it's the electrical charge involved. So there we go. So I want to show you guys real quick. Neat. It's photosynthesis is pretty complex. I want to show you guys where we're headed really fast here. So we're give you an opportunity to kind of look ahead at a couple things. So next week we're doing What is it the one I wanted? Yeah, I'll do yours. So next week's lesson, we're moving into further cellular processes. And in this case, it's going to be, hello, open. There we go. No, everything's laggy today. So we're going to be starting to look into stuff like respiration and fermentation. Okay, so you've got your 3 main energy producing processes are photosynthesis, respiration, and fermentation. Those are your big ones when you're talking about turning chemical energy or light energy into some usable form of food, right? And next week's lab is a big one. Did y'all look at it and see what it is? It's a longer one. it did not come from your lab books. It's a separate one. How long will I be blue? Right. And in this one, we're going to be using some yeast. And do you remember last year when we made like an iodine clock? Anybody remember the iodine clock?
Yeah.
It's going to be kind of similar to the iodine clock idea. So we'll watch some things change. And then this last week's, I didn't put the homework in. Shoot. Why didn't I do that? Because I'm not with it. To go up one more. I have too many files, you guys. And just so you know, I'll show you really fast so that you know where we are. You should have, I'm hoping you will have your Q2 stuff next week because it's nearly done. I've got everything done through your lesson 16 is the last one I think I have to do because 15 is done. So yeah, so we're almost there and you should be getting that stuff shortly. So let's look back at where's today? Let's look back real quick at our, I can just go here. At the light and dark reaction thing, because I know this gets funky. Where's the graph? Okay, here we go. All right, so trying to figure out if there's a way to, all right, let's do it this way. So you've got your light coming in and why, okay, let's break down the why of all the steps because maybe that'll help you get a good grip on them all. So why is the light coming into, what's attracting the light into the, let's say it's a leaf. We've got our leaf here. What's making the light come in? Do we know what that is? It's what y'all messed with today. It's the pigment, right? Basically. So think about wavelengths of light. Y'all said it before. What's being absorbed and what's being reflected back. The green's being reflected back. So everything else is being absorbed, right? Because there's a pigment. Pigments absorb light. It's what they do. And where is the pigment within the leaf? In the chlorophyll, which is in the chloroplast, which is in the cell, which is in the leaf. Okay, are we following that? So we've got the sun coming in, hits the leaf has cells, the cells have chloroplasts, and the chloroplasts have chlorophyll in the thylakoid membranes, all right? So then what else is coming into the leaf? Light's coming in. What else? Yeah, well, what's here? This is coming in. CO2 is coming in. And water is coming in. Okay, and oxygen's going out. So what you have to remember is always about homeostasis and diffusion across membranes, all right? So why is the CO2 going in? Because there's more CO2 outside the leaf than inside the leaf. So it's going in because it's got a higher concentration on one side than on the other. So the oxygen's going out for the same reason. It's being produced in the leaf and it's trying to, again, get balance on both sides. So it's pushing out, right? And then when you get inside, you have this whole light reaction process again, where you've got light coming in and your ADP is going to be produced from your ATP is going to be produced from your ADP. Gosh, I cannot speak. AD. That's why I can't speak. Oh my goodness. Yes. So here are the big points I want you to remember. So if you want to put notes on this or whatever you need to do, these are the big points I want you to remember for photosynthesis. Is it's light in, carbon dioxide in, water in, right? Oxygen out, and sugar for storage. And then in the process, you've got ATP being produced rapidly and not hanging out because it doesn't hang out. It's part of the process. And that energy is the ATP energy is what's needed to fuel the photosynthesis process. So once you've got your ATP, you're going to use it pretty much immediately, right? And then you've got your electron chain that scoots things down. So those are the big points for you to remember. All right, let's take a sec. Let me see if I can pull up what I had for homework for you guys, because we didn't go over either of them. And I'm going to disconnect it for a second. And I'm going to stop screen share for a second. Sorry, Shannon. Just because I'm going to pull up my grade book and I don't want to open it for everybody. All right. I meant to put it on the slideshow like I usually do, but it got a little crazy this week. My last 3 weeks have been ridiculous, and I'm ready to have a normal life again. I don't know when. Probably won't be allowed to because something else will come up. All right, so your lesson 5 homework was the Venn diagram that we just did, and your lesson 6 homework, the one that's coming up. So you're going to get some questions about, my mom, she's still there? Yeah. All right, you're going to have some questions in the, where's that? Oh goodness, Zoom. Okay, still good. I didn't want to lose Shannon for a second. I'm not minimizing it. Stop. Hold on, I'll put it right back up on the screen. Kill one to open one. All right, so plants will grow well under yellow light. You're going to be asked about whether or not plants will grow well under yellow light. You tell me, what do you think?
Eh,
Eh,
I mean,
Yeah.
they won't grow perfectly, but they will grow.
they'll grow, but not super well.
because yellow's green and blue.
Okay. So what's going to be the best light for growing plants?
Purplish.
Purplish, or what do we call the light that's outside?
UV.
What do we call it when it has all of the wavelengths in it?
White light.
Yeah, we call it white light. Has all the colors, but we call it white light. Okay. 3 primary factors that affect the rate of photosynthesis are temperature, intensity of light, and the availability of what?
Water.
Blow it up bigger.
CO2.
What do we think?
Both.
Anybody daring to throw out answers? Water, CO2, both?
The availability of an unobtrusive space without shade.
But I mean, it needs both. So
Needs both. So the 3 primary factors should be in your book. Anybody bring a book?
I looked at it all, it's hard to move that thing around.
What you got? You brought a book, okay? So your book's gonna list it exactly like this, because this question was a straight out of the book question. So the 3 primary factors, so I'll do these like this. I'll put questions in your homework or on your test. Usually I try to put them on your homework that are straight out of the book questions. And the purpose isn't so that you don't think outside the box. The purpose is so that you learn how to figure out how to answer a straight out of the book question, because sometimes homeschoolers stink at that, because you guys think, well, of course it needs this and it needs that and it needs all these things. But sometimes you're going to have, like, especially if you go into any kind of profession that requires any sort of like a licensing exam, it's all straight out of the book questions. So what we're looking for here, availability of water. So what? Photosynthesis, rate of photosynthesis is affected by temperature, intensity of light, and availability of water. If you don't have water, you're not going to have, obviously, your plant cells aren't going to be a thing, right? Because they're not going to hold up. They're going to fall over and wilt and be gross. So here's the last one. Which of the following is an autotroph? Okay, you ready? It's going to be a picture. I like this picture. I had fun with this one. First, do we know what they are?
chicken, mushroom, don't know what that third.
Wow, so let's be more specific. You got the chicken.
Oh, that's the kind of fungus that grows on tree stumps and stuff.
Do you know what that kind of mushroom? C is the right answer, but do you know what these are? So this is a chicken. And that one in the middle, it is a fungus. It's called a chicken of the woods.
Oh.
And do you know what that thing is on the far right?
It's like a chicken fly.
It's chickweed. So we have a chicken, chickweed, and a chicken of the woods. And obviously your autotroph is going to be your chickweed. Why not the chicken of the woods?
Because it's a decomposer.
Yeah, it's a decomposer.
Fungus.
Yes, thank you.
Right on. It's a decomposer. So it's gonna, yes, it's gonna pick apart dead stuff and on the lab when we were outside in the ecology lab. So there was a question about what would happen if there were no decomposers. Okay, so do you remember how you answered? What'd you say?
It would eventually all the sugar on the ground would be choked out.
Yeah, there'd be just like tons of dead stuff piling up everywhere. Everything on the ground would be choked out because of the dead stuff. But there was one point that a lot of you missed. And the other big point about why we need decomposers isn't just so we can get rid of the obvious piles of dead
Because they
things.
prey.
What now?
Are they prey?
No,
There'll be lots of nutrients there that.
it's the nutrient fixing.
And there'll also be like a
Yes.
disease spreading through.
Yeah, it's mainly about nutrient fixing. So your fungus and stuff, your decomposers, not only do they break down obvious big chunks of dead matter everywhere, which of course they do, but they also are going to do us the favor of sticking nutrients back into the soil, which we need. We need the nutrients back into the soil so that the producers can do what the producers are going to do. All right, cool. So that's the homework, and it's an easy homework. It's not going to be a big old thing. It's just that's those three. That's it. So you should be able to get through it pretty easy. And this last week's homework we did, it was the Venn diagram, and we had what, go away. There, sorry. That wasn't fast enough. And I'll put that up if you want to check your notes. But since next week's lesson is going to be a more complicated one, because we're touching photosynthesis and we're knowing there are all these little reactions.
Do we have class
But
next?
the rest, not next week, sorry, next week after next, sorry. Week after next is a more complicated one because we're getting into respiration and fermentation and all that business. So if you guys want to take the next, what is it, 25 minutes really till we usually end. And here's what I recommend you do, because we're coming through this unit and there's not a whole ton more of this unit. We have how many more weeks? 3 more weeks or something in this unit. I highly recommend for y'all, especially at your level, that you take the time to go through your binder and make sure that everything is in order where it needs to be, that your labs go with your lessons and everything is put where it goes. Anybody's stuff out of order? I know mine would be. Mine would totally be out of order if I was sitting in this class. Take the time to put it back in order, because you're going to have, we have fall break next week. We come back, we're doing lesson 7, which I was saying, is the respiration and all that business. And then it's lesson 8, and that's kind of like wrapping up stuff, that's cell division. And then there's another test. There's your test, your unit 3 test. So you're going to want to have everything put together neatly and in an organized fashion. Okay. But you know what? Before we do that, one more thing. I'm going to do one more thing. I'm gonna go back here one more time and make y'all do this one again. One more time, and then I'll let you do that. Let's try it again. I want you to recognize all the things. So what was this guy over here? Well, first you knew plant animal. That was easy. So what was this dude here?
Which one? Okay, chloroplast.
That's chloroplast. How do you know?
Because it's an organelle that's only in plant cells.
It's only in plant cells, and it's an organelle. It's not a wall. Yep, and it's got the little thylakoids inside, right? They're gonna look different in different diagrams. What do you see, Michael?
I do not see the mouse.
Yeah, there.
There it is.
There we go. Okay. All right. Next thing it was pointing out was this, which is what?
Cell wall.
Cell wall. Who remembers what cell wall is made of?
Yeah.
Cellulose, I believe.
Cellulose, and there was one other thing in there. Do you remember? Pectin. Yeah, well, water. And waters and everything. Cellulose and pectin. Do you remember what pectin's used for in manufacturing? Jam, jelly. Yep. And what do we call cellulose?
Starch, no, fiber.
Fiber. Yeah. Okay, cool. So what's this next thing?
Cell membrane.
Cell membrane. All right. What's the cell membrane made of?
Animals.
Who remembers? It's a phospholipid bilayer. So do you remember what that means?
2 layers of lipids stuck together.
It's 2 layers of lipid, correct? And it's got they're non-polar. So you've got an end here. You've got like a head and a tail, and a head and a tail, right? The heads are going to repel water. Water doesn't like them. The tails actually are fine with water. So if you've got channels or pores that the water can move through, it's not going to have a problem inside, but that's how you get your boundary. It makes that boundary because it's fat, it's oil. Just like if you pour oil in water and you watch what it does, it's not gonna, they're not gonna mix, right? Phospholipid bilayer, and then what else is part of the cell membrane? Remember what else is in it?
There was some other pore type thing.
There's some pores in it. There's also some proteins that are used as transport channels. They're gonna be inside. But yeah, the proteins that are used as transport channels, right? And some of them are gonna require energy, others are not gonna require energy, but they're like little tunnels or portals that go from the outside to the inside of the cell. All right, and whoop, ribosomes was next. Didn't mean to click it. What do the ribosomes do? Who remembers? What happens in the ribosomes?
They make proteins.
Yeah, they make proteins. What do they make it from? Do you remember?
DNA/RNA.
Yeah, from RNA. So we're gonna do a lab once we move on from this. When we get into the genetics, we start talking about how this works. But like, for example, Jack, you have what, brown eyes? Okay, so that means that somewhere you have a ribosome, and in it you have DNA in your cell, and that DNA has unzipped, and you've had a strand of RNA come in and make a copy of half of that DNA, and it shovels itself into a ribosome, just like a train into a tunnel. And then it has those little nucleotide bases, right? The A, U, G, C, those things, right? And it's sitting there, and along come in your ribosome, along comes these little proteins that pop on and build and squirt it out the other end. And that's how you're making the brown color in your eyes and absolutely everything else. It's an incredible little factory inside of the ribosome, which is pretty wild. All right, what was the next thing? Those were the ribosomes. What are these guys? These guys here. That's this guy here. Yes, mitochondria. What happens in there?
I want to say that they produce energy.
Yeah. So when we're talking about photosynthesis taking place in chloroplasts and stuff, we're getting more into like the respiration and those energy producing processes in the mitochondria in animal cells. And so if you think of a mitochondria, always think of a mitochondrion. If you think of that as like the little powerhouse, the little energy factory in the cell, that's a good reference for that. Actually, we should take that image from last week and put the office characters on it again. We should do it ourselves. That would be fun. So that's mitochondria. And what were the stack of pancakes? Golgi apparatus. What do they do? Do we remember? They're like it's like the mail rooms, the sorting center. It's the Amazon warehouse of all things in the cell. So proteins are being spit out of these ribosomes, and you got, there you go. You've also got lysosomes spitting out chemicals to destroy things. And all this stuff's going around, it's floating around in this matrix of a cytoplasm. And then you've got this Golgi apparatus that sorts it, tells it where to go. It organizes everything. What is this stuff stuck on the outside here? That's the rough ER. And what was that one? Smooth ER. And then what was this guy here and here? Yeah, nuclear membrane. Yep, good deal. And what was this and this?
Nucleus.
Nucleus and nucleolus. Remember, I will disown you if you pronounce this word. How? How will I disown you if you say
Nucleus.
nucleus?
Nucleus.
You will not be permitted. Yes. So remember, it's nucleus because it's nuclear, like a nuclear family or nuclear war or nuclear power. It's not nuclear weapon. We don't have nuclear weapons. They don't exist. It's not a thing. So, and that is one of those words that is so frequently mispronounced. Yes, even one of our former presidents did it. And I was like, oh, and he did it. Didn't do it once, like he did it every time. And I thought somebody somewhere is afraid to say to him, hey, Mr. President, you're saying that wrong, because somebody somewhere, that should be their job, right? All right, and then lastly, vacuoles. And you remember what we said, central vacuoles in plants were important for turgor pressure and all that good stuff. Excellent. So let's see, I wonder, do they have, what they do? Where is Shannon? Is she not still? Oh Lord, did I lose her? I didn't lose you, Shannon. I may have just lost her because I'm not paying attention. All right, no, she's still there. All right. Lastly, she's probably telling me I can't see. Oh no, she got something right. Okay. I want to see if we can find a better version of that office. And if we can't, let's make one. Let's make it our thing. Of course, anytime. So let's see. If we can't find it, we can't find one, it'll be ours. We'll just make it our thing. Oh no, go away quickly. So let's see.
So many great office nerds.
I know, outstanding.
Good Parks and Rec, which is good.
See, it's this one here, but it's hard to see. You can't tell.
Anymore.
You can't tell who they've done, right? It's too hard to see. But there's also like somebody did one here. Did they write their names on them? No. Okay, but these are the people we're dealing with. Okay, so if we're dealing with these people, that's a terrible one. Can we find a better cell? Let's find a good cell. That's a good cell. All right, so let's do this. Let's take this good cell. It's a good one. Oh my gosh, I have so many little things all over my screen. There's one for the TV and one for the Zoom. And okay, nope. Let's make our own, and you can use it as your study guide. And then I'll give you a few minutes to organize, make sure you're organized. And let's take our people. Here they are. Are we missing people? Where's a better one? Does that have all the people? Who are we missing? Stanley? I don't see
There's no
Stanley.
There's no Creed, there's no.
Yeah, we need a better one.
Later season characters.
We need a better one here. All right, find me one.
No, go up, go up.
Where are my experts, Ethan? Where's a
That
good
right
one?
there. That's got most-
This one?
Yeah,
That has everybody in it?
most, I mean, most of the early.
All right, cool. All right, so let's look. Let's make some decisions here. Let's be critical. Put them in another slide so we got room for them. This is, yep, this is your critical thinking for today. Way to go.
I don't see, what you did.
Who are we missing? I don't see Meredith.
Oh, yeah, that's okay.
Who's in there?
I don't know what part of the cell Meredith would be. It would be scary. Maybe there's another one we can use and steal her face.
Whatever part of the
cell
cell
that we would
introducing,
not want
that's
to
fine.
have.
Yeah, for real. Like, oh wait, here's this one's got a lot of them too.
Yeah, whatever part of the cell is in charge of reproduction.
That would be okay. Yes, that's a good one, Cole. That's frighteningly good. Okay, that actually might be a better one than this one. Because this has,
Mindy Kaling's character, I see here.
she's here,
Oh, now it's.
right here. I think that's a better one. Okay, anyway. Here's our people.
Good left.
So where are we starting? What do we want to start with?
Middle.
We want to start, okay, so we have a nucleolus, a nuclear membrane, and a nucleus.
Well, the nucleolus is Michael, and the nuclear membrane might just be Dwight, because Dwight protects him with his life.
That could work, all right. Okay,
Or
so,
it could be the nucleolus and Michael and then everything else is.
well, wait, who is the guy? Shoot, who is Ozzy?
Us.
Thank
Us.
Your dog is dumb.
Yeah, Michael's the
Stupid.
nucleolus and then everything else is Dwight, because we all know he definitely thinks he can do everything.
This is true. Okay, so nucleolus is Michael. We'll make this as a great, this will be the best study guide you've ever had. I'm just saying. Just saying.
He'll be my favorite, that's for sure.
All right, so let's do that. All right, so we've decided the nucleolus is Michael. Everybody's in agreement here? All right, so we'll put him over here. All right, we're gonna stick his little self right here. So then who did we decide was the nuclear membrane? Dwight?
Dwight.
Or is there another job you like better for Dwight?
Well, the nucleus could be Dwight.
I
or
think
the
the cell
nuclear
should
membrane could be Jim, or Jim could be.
Yeah, could
Well,
do.
technically speaking, Dwight and Jim kind of run the office. Michael doesn't really do it.
True, this is a good point. So
Actually, Pam might be the membrane. She doesn't want
Yeah.
that.
Pam could be the whole cell membrane, right?
I mean, she could be the nucleolus.
Or maybe, okay, so maybe then if you're saying Jim kind of really runs things, maybe Jim's the nucleus and maybe, whoops. And then maybe Dwight's the nuclear membrane. What do you think?
Yeah.
I need a Jim face here. That's a great expression. He must get tired of making that expression. He made that expression for years. All right. So we're gonna make him what? Which did we decide?
The nucleus.
He's the nucleus? Cool. So then did we decide Dwight was nuclear membrane? Do we like that idea? What other jobs are there for him? Vacuoles, Golgi apparatus, ribosomes, mitochondrion.
Vacuole is the story, is Daryl probably. So there's
That's a good point. That's a good one. Okay.
Yeah, like
ER.
also like distributing jobs.
The question is who's Creed?
Creed. Oh
He should
man.
be the runaway felon.
He should be the what?
Runaway felon.
A runaway felon. I think he is a runaway felon. All right. So what do we decide for Dwight? Or do we not know yet? I'll just cut his face out. And then when we think of someplace, we'll get in there.
What's the most hated part of the cell?
The most hated part of the cell, you trying to find a place for Toby? Poor Toby, gosh, oh, okay, we'll figure this out.
Creed, like. What could Creed?
Okay, how about this one? What's Angela?
What's the most uptight part of the cell?
The most uptight part of the cell, that's a good question. Okay, well, you've got these cytoskeleton, right, which are they're somewhat rigid. I think that maybe.
That's like
What's
the.
their job again?
The lysosomes are the ones that are like killing all the parts of the cell that need to die, or
That could be.
The executioner.
that could be Dwight.
That could so be Dwight.
It'd
just be like there,
The whole
it's
lice
like-
episode, where you like, he's like,
The whole lysosomes.
I mean, Dwight is the judge.
yeah, no, the one where he's like, the healthcare episode, he's talking about how like, he purposely exposes himself to everything.
It's disgusting.
But it's so Dwight.
I'm just cutting faces while y'all decide. Y'all decide. Y'all debate who's going where. I'm just gonna put faces over here so we're ready to stick them. Yeah, don't forget Kevin and Phyllis. Like, these people need a job.
Chili, it's all.
Who makes chili? What part of the cell make? Okay, well,
The chemical reaction.
the ribosomes do produce proteins. They manufacture proteins, so that could be Kevin. He makes chili. I don't know. What y'all thinking?
I'm trying to figure out where Creed could go.
I wanna know what part of the thing gets crossword.
I mean, Creed could be the cell membrane because it feels like he's everywhere, but also like no.
What about Ryan?
Creed is-
Where would we put Ryan, guys?
Well, what's the temporary
closet.
part of this?
What's the temporary part of the cell? That's true. Your ATP is pretty
The better
temporary.
question is, where's the permanent part of the cell? Because he always calls himself a temp, but he never is.
This is true. What do you guys think?
Where's the closet?
There's the closet. It's
Is it
great.
called wolf.com?
Yeah.
Well,
There's an actual YouTube video.
You gotta love that.
Awesome.
Woof.com. Outstanding. And then we've got, so who, what did we decide about lysosome? Who's lysosome here?
What did they do?
They, remember, they're the parts that take care of, they're like cleanups. They take care of the parts of the cell that die and need to go. They do a lot of cleaning up.
That just seemed like a Dwight job.
It really does kind of seem like a Dwight job. What do we, would it be?
Also a job for the coach of Notre Dame, but that's a whole other.
A lot of people.
Yeah. What about Andy? Where would Andy go?
Which part of the cell went to Cornell?
Which part of the cell went to Cornell? That's a great question. I don't know.
Or can play the banjo or sing loud.
How about Pam? Pam should be an easy one. Where can we put Pam?
Someone that's really important.
Something that's very important.
What's the cilia?
What's the underrated part of this?
Underrated part of the cell. The cilia. So some cells have cilia that help them move, like physically it's for locomotion. But not all cells obviously have that.
I mean, I feel like Pam does move things.
Well, that could
along.
be Pam.
Like,
Yeah, it could be the membrane.
Or the membrane. The membrane's a good one.
White could also be the membrane because it feels like he's everywhere. and,
This is true.
All encompassing, just closing in on everyone.
What is Creed actually doing? Is he actually doing any work ever?
Well, yeah, what's the part of this?
Well, yeah, he's like selling drugs out of the office.
Yeah. Yeah.
Probably a myriad of other legal activities.
So
He's being that
So
guy,
your
bro.
rough ER is producing your ribosomes, and your ribosomes are producing your proteins. So think about that. Oh, and then
It
there's
feels like
also
he's-
energy here.
It feels like he's like the rough ER, but it feels like he's the smooth. It feels like he's like perfectly normal and okay.
Or that's Ryan,
Really
who thinks
not.
he's rough and cool, he's really just
There should
Ryan.
have been like
Very
there
triple.
should have been an episode like an underground fight and the Creed's just there.
The guys are supposed to be the doers, but not what you spend.
Okay, how about, what about Stanley and Phyllis? Like, these people really work. They actually do work. Yeah, they do work.
Yeah, they work.
Actually, I do work.
Stanley can be like the gold glue of the hour.
Yeah.
So your Golgi apparatus, that's a good one to think about. So your Golgi apparatus is doing all your like sorting.
Phyllis.
So,
I'd say
oops,
Phyllis.
that did wrong. You would say Phyllis.
Isn't that an accountant?
Oh, good point.
So what does an
Oscar,
accountant
no,
do?
Oscar, it's Oscar.
Oscar is your Golgi apparatus.
Yeah. I'd say
Where is Oscar?
'Cause Oscar probably works harder than anybody there, I would say.
I don't even see him. We gotta find another
Maybe.
picture. We gotta find Oscar in another picture. He's not here. We are missing Oscar. Is he in this picture? There he is.
It's probably up with the senator.
He could be off with the sun. Oh, this is fun. This is good exercise. Okay, so let's see. What did we decide he was?
Golgi.
He's Golgi apparatus. Okay, he tells everything where to go. He's directing everything.
I want to know who Mose is.
Mose. Mose is the, oh God, I don't know what Mose is. Mose is a virus that attacks the cell. All right, so we decided
Or Creed.
he was the Golgi apparatus. All right, there we go.
It feels like
So if the ribosomes are producing protein, right, they're actually producing something. And then, so actually produces something? What?
Creed could be the cytoplasm because he's just
Oh.
there, but
That's a good one. Yeah. What do y'all think of that? Creed could be the cytoplasm because he's just sort of there.
Yeah, we don't actually know what job he does.
yeah.
That's perfect. I like that. Okay, that's great. And this picture of him is spot on because he's just sort of staring weirdly in the wrong direction. Like everyone else is looking at the camera and he's not.
Does he ever stare normally though? That's the question.
No.
That is really good. I didn't know.
My favorite was when he was growing mung beans in the drawer. I still don't know what that was about, but it was hilarious. It's like, these are very good for you. These are high in protein. What are we doing? All right, so who are we missing? Okay, so who's okay? Vacuoles clean and store things.
I would say.
Who's
Daryl.
that? Daryl. We need to find Daryl.
I don't think he's in either
He's
of
not
those.
in any of these, so let's go find Daryl. There's Daryl. That's a good picture of Daryl. We'll use that one. What if I can get it?
Also,
to
he
go.
could be like the gold.
Hello. We put him over here. So he's a vacuoles, you said, yes?
Yeah,
Gosh, I
Daryl
gotta
started
go
out
to
as
the
just like a
office.
pretty serious character, and then by the end of the show, he was kind of a joker like everybody else.
All right, there we go. So how about, what are we missing? Oh, did we pick Pam? We didn't pick a thing for Pam. We talked about it.
What are the ribosomes?
So the ribosomes are where the protein is produced.
Yeah, membrane.
Michael's arguing membrane for Pam. I think that's a
I'm
good
okay
one.
with that.
All right, we'll put Pam on the membrane. She's the membrane,
Wait, the nuclear membrane or the cell membrane?
the cell membrane. The nuclear membrane, we still haven't pegged anybody yet. So we have left here, we have lysosomes, which are, in charge of your cleanup, like actually killing things or sending out signals
Who's
to
the
die.
darkest character on the show?
Creed. Ooh, centrioles. Okay, these only pop up. Okay, this is okay. These are only visible when the cell's dividing. So these are only visible when something important's going on.
Packer.
Packer. Oh my gosh, you're right. We need Packer. Yes, when something important is going on, Packer does show up.
But really, who is the darkest character on the show?
Creed, well, he showed up to the office covered in blood and said it was, well, it's a good thing it's Halloween.
So should we change?
That was pretty randomly.
Should we change Creed then to the lysosome?
Did you see the thing NBC
Could
did
be.
for the Emmys one year where they took Jesse from Breaking Bad and it was just a little skit they did and he had him walk into the office and then buy meth from Creed.
That's
It was
hilarious.
really funny. 'Cause he walked up to Pam, or no, it was Aaron, I think, at the front desk, and he's like, hey, it's Creed.
So we have left the mitochondria, and that's your energy powerhouse, right? Your ribosomes, where your protein is produced. Your ER that produces your ribosomes. Smooth ER. What else do we have? Cilia that's moving things, lysosomes that are, and then these microtubules, which also are present all the time. They provide structure all the time, but you don't see them until they divide.
That seems
So-
like a stand.
I guess the killer thing's going to Dwight.
I was thinking the same thing.
Like, that seems like Stanley is like he's always there and like.
Yeah, Stanley, maybe Stanley and
Except
Phyllis,
that
or
one time.
I guess up the one time. No, I think you have a good argument there for Stanley.
That he should be what?
He's the cytoskeleton, like he's always there, but you don't see him unless there's something happening. Like he's there and he's essential because without him, things wouldn't run. There would be no structure, but you don't see him until,
You got me.
boy.
Ooh,
When you lost your mind,
maybe
I
the
love that was my favorite because I hope you find it.
maybe the
That girl
lymphomes.
was shot.
Maybe the lymphomes should be like, or lysosomes.
Lysosomes?
Lysosomes, thank you. Should be Dwight because he literally set a fire in the office.
This is
So,
true. He
Yeah.
did.
He's.
I think
he's
you guys
already
are-
on that.
You
path.
guys are making a
Right.
good lysosome argument for Dwight. He's always trying to, he's always trying to keep things running smoothly, which is what they do. They get rid of the stuff that's,
But then he
needs
just
to die,
causes
needs
a
to go
little
away.
Chaos.
Yes, this is true.
Okay.
Oh, Andy could be a good fit for your nuclear membrane because he's had some management going on, maybe.
Well, you have anger management. Yeah,
Anger man.
There's also that man.
he runs through a wall. Remember when he couldn't find his cell phone? Jim put it up there, kept going.
Who's the energy? Who's the powerhouse for energy here, though, of this crypt?
It'd be funny if it was Kevin, but it's not.
Funny if it was Kevin, but it's not. Like, where's the powerhouse of the energy? Well,
Michael
we put Michael already in the middle, though.
kind of is the energy.
Yeah, but Dwight is like has the most sales out of like any branch. So
Yeah, but Dwight.
Think about maybe somebody who's not pictured, like,
That's very true, but we also put him in a role that's he's just there.
What the?
a person that could be
who
just
produces,
there is,
so
like,
who produces money? Who
That's a
produces
very good
energy?
point.
What'd you say?
Phyllis could be the cytoplasm because she's just there.
Yes,
And
this
then Creed
is-
could be like
You know,
the,
and,
where Dwight
what's
is,
the,
and Dwight could be where-
What's the?
Okay. Stu.
What's the corporate guy? What's his name?
Oh,
You haven't asked-
President?
What's that? one?
who's that guy? All right, Ethan,
Wallace.
do your job. Yeah,
David
Wallace.
Wallace,
Hey, Ethan, do your job. What's the guy's name? We can find Wallace. Okay, so wait, we said we're gonna make Phyllis the cytoplasm now?
Someone's character.
Okay.
Yeah, that was like the weirdest, like, oh, no, Will Ferrell's. Will Ferrell.
Phyllis is-
That was like the.
Oh my gosh, that was random.
what was
Okay,
his name? You remember? Like D'Angelo.
and then who was Creed? Creed was,
Creed, I think we're gonna move Dwight, but Creed and with the.
D'Angelo juggled with no balls.
I remember that.
so he's gonna be the lysosome.
Now we're back to nothing for Dwight.
Dwight could be cilia. He's always trying to keep things moving.
Yeah, by starting fires and having everyone.
Well, like-
Or he could be the mitochondrion
Celia could be
because
the president.
he does actually sell stuff. I mean, he does actually do things, right?
Yeah, the Oscar thing
Was
jumping
that-
through the
remember-
ceiling.
Mm.
I feel like Dwight should be the
Dwight
Celia
should be
because he literally had people moving, running
is
out the
true.
building. He started a fire.
So who do we have? We have
People
Andy,
jumping through the ceiling.
Dwight.
Or,
Oh, Angela. We didn't place Angela yet.
No.
Or
That's what-
Meredith.
Yeah.
Meredith could be like the rough ER, maybe.
Meredith could be the rough ER. She could be- It, the rough ER is
Well,
producing the ribosomes.
What is this?
Or what's the
Yeah, it's
caring
like-
part? Because she has like
Oh, the caring part.
the cat. 'cause she's like.
Oh, Angela with the cats?
That was
Hmm.
fun.
We're at.
True.
Is it Spears concert? I forget what it was.
Mm,
Is there-
Remember. Who else are we missing, guys? Look at the picture. Who do we not place? We haven't placed Kevin, right? No, we did place Kevin.
Unfortunately. there's
Toby?
gonna be people,
Karen.
like,
That was
left out.
Karen, yeah.
Oh,
Or
Karen,
Toby.
Karen and Toby. We don't have them over there yet.
People don't like. I didn't hate Karen. I didn't feel the whole.
I thought Karen was just like in an unfortunate circumstance.
She was. She was a bad
Hmm.
character, a bad version.
No, her character was good. She was a good person. It's just that she literally was stuck in a filler relationship with him for character development.
Yeah.
True. Felt bad for her. So we still have our smooth endoplasmic reticulum. So we're talking about another, more protein production in
Yeah,
general.
what's with the reproduction of stuff?
Oh, so that would maybe be centrioles because those only appear when the cells are dividing.
Yeah, so that's.
So do we want to put her for that? Because we had her for,
Oh, no, we put Packer down.
oh, no, we didn't. We had somebody else for that. Yeah, we had Packer for that because he only appears when something's happening. But that could also be cytoskeleton. I mean, whoop, no, I did not mean to do that. Poor Toby. Nobody likes him, but there he is.
Toby doesn't
You could
care.
put Toby as the cilia. He moves him around, but nobody gives him any appreciation for that. They're
And
all
he's on the
focusing- Yeah,
outside.
he's on the outside, and they're all focusing on what's going on inside. He's just trying to kind of steer going around.
What do y'all think of that?
Yeah.
I suppose, but we need to find something for Dwight. Really.
Yeah, it's crazy that
He could
Dwight's the
I
hardest to
thought it
place
was
here.
the ribosomes we're doing that.
Well,
Well, we had him as a lysosome.
we had him at a
but then we were
lysosome.
Like, well, Creed is.
we could still put him back over. We still need a nuclear membrane.
Let's do, Dwight. picked my memory.
Oh, but then we also said Meredith would be good for central, but we said Packard too. So both endoplasmic reticulum are responsible for, these are production. Okay, and then this is like
Andy
down to
can
the
be
nitty
one-
gritty
Well, Dwight-
production.
Andy
Dwight
can
is
be-
productive because he tried to like sell all those things like beat the computer.
True. Oh, no. We're placing some characters over here. We're doing the
Smooth and
labeling.
rough.
I bet Senora has some suggestions here.
What is, I can't see, I don't.
The office characters as cell organelles. Yeah, it is fun. So we still have to place these guys, and then there's others that aren't necessarily here that we could find. Oh, you said you wanted Wallace. What did you want Wallace for, Michael?
I don't remember.
Celia.
Oh, for Cilia. Do we still want Wallace, or do we want to leave Toby there, or what do we want to
I
do?
think we beat Toby.
Wallace was like the boss that came in, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
So mitochondria maybe for him?
maybe. It's a powerhouse. This
Yeah,
is
the
where the
powerhouse,
production
yeah,
is
yeah.
going on.
I just feel like Toby's on the outside, so.
You can put Dwight down for mitochondria.
You can put Dwight and David Wallace, they would both fit.
For mitochondria,
Yeah.
Yeah.
why don't we do that? We'll stick Dwight and then we gotta go, now I gotta go find David Wallace because we don't have a. He didn't show up in that
I love
picture.
This is awesome.
Oh, this is a good
Yep.
one. We can
He's the
use,
president.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
the powerhouse.
Oh, no, remember
president.
the guy, they're down there, hell, I forget his name, that guy, right above your, he was the.
Oh,
Saber guy, the
ye,
Saber corporate guy.
Saber Corporate, yeah.
Or he talks super weird, he was
Dave?
super slow, not Dave, the other guy.
Jim is the nucleus.
Or he
Yeah.
was
I
down
know.
and he was like,
Jim's
"Oh,
the
yeah,
nucleus.
yeah,
Love
yeah,
it.
yeah, point."
All right, so we
Weird.
said
Yeah, he was-
mitochondria and they're both
Maybe
mitochondria.
like sit down, Jim.
Yeah.
So we got
Who's useless.
three more. Yeah,
What's
useless.
useless?
Exactly.
Because that's, can't think of the, what's his name? The one at the top.
Toby.
Oh,
Yeah,
Toby,
yeah.
he's Cilia.
Oh, no, not Toby. The
Uh,
one that we haven't used. I can't. think of his
Michael?
name. No,
Ryan?
keep over.
Ryan?
Ryan.
Yeah.
Ryan needs to be useless.
So these are both production. So look, we got wolf.com. We got three more and Miss Jackie's got to teach, got 3 minutes.
True.
So production produces the factory and then the actual factory. Where are we
Andy
going?
and Angela.
Andy and Angela go up here.
Besides, they end up marrying each other, so they're not each other.
Oh God, don't ever
Or sort
forget
of marrying
me.
each other.
Okay, so he's doing some stuff and she's producing the stuff that produces the stuff, which kind of makes sense for an accountant, right? Like she's keeping stuff, she's the bean counter.
We have 2 left. It's pretty-
Yeah, we have a lot left. They won't all make it. So who gets to be
I
the
have 2
actual
spots left.
factory
You could put the
factory?
nuclear membrane.
Okay, we got nuclear
as
membrane too.
Ryan, because that's where Michael would want
Okay, that's a good one. All right, we could do
it.
that.
Michael loves Ryan.
All right, and then how about Meredith? And we also don't have Kelly
Or Kevin.
or Kevin. Well, I thought we were gonna put Kevin in the ribosome because of the protein. Because of the protein, I'm sorry.
That's big.
It's ridiculous, but I thought that's what we were doing. What do we think? We gotta put Kevin somewhere. Where do we put him?
Malone.
Alone? He could be just the matrix.
They let everybody get to know each other.
So funny. All right, what do we think, guys? We got Kevin, Meredith, we still have Kelly too. Who's our ribosome? This is where the DNA is. This is where the code from the DNA turns into protein.
Kevin.
It's
Kevin. He always he has deep thoughts. So maybe that's it. He's figuring stuff out. All
Why use more word and less word?
right, there we go. So I'll put this out for you guys. Great study guide. Fun times again.
The world.
The world. All right, Miss Shannon.
I am so glad we spent like.
Oh, Shannon was thinking we should have used Jan for something or Bob Vance. She's right. Yeah, should have been on there. Brian ended up going as nuclear membrane. Yeah, because that's where Michael would want it.
Yep, true. True, yep.
You look
That
cute
makes
as can be,
sense.
such a
Thank
cute.
you.
So there we go. All right. Bye, Shannon.
Thank you, Drew. Good job.
Fun
Have a
times.
good